Have you ever had a dentist talk you out of a cleaning? Well, I'm going to try. Now, enamel is actually clear glass. That is the way that nature has made our teeth sparkle when they're healthy. As a dentist, I always gave my patients the opportunity to reverse a cavity. Healthy bacteria form a very thin coating over your teeth and over your gums, like a bulletproof shield. I have never heard of people reversing cavities. I felt it was really important. I want to tell you a story. What happened? What have you been using to whiten your teeth? They look amazing. He had not whitened his teeth. This is a dynamic process, and you can begin today. And I'm Dr. Ellie, and I am here to help you have the healthiest mouth ever and avoid unnecessary dental treatments. So I want to talk about how you can whiten your teeth naturally at home without damaging your gums or your teeth, which unfortunately was what often happens to people who use one of these many, many whitening products that I'm sure you've seen on the shelves of every grocery store. And most people think because there are so many, they have to be safe. I am completely against any idea of whitening your teeth with these artificial whitening products, no matter how much marketing they have behind them, telling you they're safe. I know I have other dental peers who agree with me. I know there are lots of people out there who have been to their dentist, begged for whitening, and their dentists have said, no, I won't do it. Why do you think this is? This is because artificially whitening your teeth is insane if you know anything about the biochemistry of teeth. The first way that teeth are whitened, and this was the original whitening products back in the day, they were toothpastes. They began with toothpastes. And these toothpastes were so abrasive. Now, if you're a smoker and you have a lot of plaque on your teeth that has stained, maybe abrasive, some kind of abrasive way to clean that stain off your teeth is necessary. But if you have perfectly fine teeth with no real plaque deposits crusted on your teeth, then you don't want to be abrading them. You will thin your enamel. I can't tell you how many young women in particular come to me with agony around their teeth because they have worn their enamel away by using these artificial whitening products, some of which have abraded their teeth, some of which are so acidic. And these include the white strips. If you measure the pH of a white strip, you will find that it's close to battery acid. This acidity is necessary in the whitening world because the first way that you open up a tooth to have its color changed is by actually getting rid of the barrier, the enamel barrier, which is composed of minerals inside a skeleton, kind of looks like a honeycomb. And this enamel skeleton packed with minerals resists acidic damage. And it can do that up to a point. When you put a crest white strip on your teeth or use these other whitening trays, you are melting all the protection off the outside of your teeth. There's a protein barrier as well, which just disappears. And then the acids percolate into the outside of the enamel. Now, the interesting thing is that the first stage of demineralization, the removal of minerals from teeth, makes teeth whiter. That's where these very clever people came up with the idea of artificially whitening teeth. You may have had braces on your teeth, and when they took them off, you had little scars, white scars, flecks across your teeth. That was where plaque had formed acids and had demineralized or weakened certain spots on your teeth where those braces, the little brackets of your braces had been. And that demineralized area looked whiter. And initially, that demineralized area can be repaired and remineralized. That's what I talk about when we talk about how to reverse a cavity, reversing and remineralizing these porosities. And the argument given by dentists about whitening is, oh, you can reverse that damage. Maybe you can reverse some of it. The problem is that most artificial whitening products go beyond just demineralizing the outside of your teeth. And who really wants to do that? These ingredients in the whitening products actually travel through those open holes. And the next thing they attack are the proteins on the deeper side of your tooth, on the dentin side. Dentin is slightly sort of skin colored, a little bit browner than the tooth. And that's the natural color of dentin. When peroxide travels through the enamel channels that have been opened by the acidity, it will change and denature the proteins in dentin, and that will change its color. That's how you change the internal color of a tooth artificially. Is that a problem? Well, there are very few studies, if any, in America to show that's a problem. I don't know why. It's interesting. But there are studies in other countries that say that may soften a tooth so that if you ever have a cavity, your tooth will have far less defense against the infection that's going to dive into your tooth. So you're weakening the structure of your teeth. And you may not know this for 10 to 15 years from now. So that's a problem. And that's one of the reasons I would never recommend that you whiten your teeth with a peroxide product. And then the third thing, the more clever thing now than ever, is that they are manufacturing products that not only get through the outer enamel, but when they're doing that, they change the structure of the enamel. We talked about enamel being like a skeleton structure with minerals packed inside it. And between these little crystals, there is a layer of a watery mineral layer. And this is why enamel is so interesting. And this is what makes what we're going to talk about in a minute, what makes a tooth actually glitter and look white. It is the reflection from these little layers between the crystals, the little watery layer that bounces light off your tooth. What artificial whitening products are now doing, this is how you get that bluer, whiter than ever color, is that it is changing what's that liquid structure between the crystals. It's either drying it out, those would be the cheaper ones, and that's horrible for your enamel because it makes it very fragile and brittle, or it puts another liquid in there so that it will bounce the rays, any sort of light rays off your tooth in a different way and make your teeth appear whiter. So that's how artificial whitening products work. And I hope you'll agree with me that it doesn't sound really good if you could make your teeth whiter by yourself. Before we go down that road, I want to explain what makes teeth white. Now, enamel is actually clear glass. It's not white. That was a brilliant marketing move back in the 80s. Teeth actually look white, even though they're made up of clear glass crystals. And the dentin on the inside of your tooth is the more live type color that's inside. And the question of whether your teeth look darker or brighter all depends on the strength, the mineralization of the outside casing of your tooth. You can't really change the color of your dentin. That's inside your tooth. It's just the way it is. But what we can do is make this glass more reflective, brighter, shine, and reflect and refract the rays of light as they contact our tooth and go back to the people who are looking at it. Now, there are tricks that are played, often in dental offices that are quite aggressive about selling whitening products, because under neon lights, under those artificial lighting boxes, teeth almost always look yellow. And you can look at your teeth in the bathroom mirror if you've got the wrong kind of lighting and hate the way they look. But if you take a mirror and go outside and let natural sunlight bounce on your teeth, you will see what color they really are. And that is how nature intended. And that is the way that nature has made our teeth sparkle when they're healthy, because healthy teeth are stronger teeth. Next question I know now you will ask is, how do I strengthen my teeth? And basically, teeth strengthen and demineralize in a very flowy way all day long. It's a dynamic process. Your teeth are neither strong nor weak. They weaken and then they strengthen. That's the way nature works. And when we eat and drink we weaken our teeth. We demineralize them to some degree. When we allow good, healthy saliva to put minerals back into our teeth, they will strengthen. So the answer really is, let's give our saliva time to interact with our teeth so that minerals from our saliva, our spit in our mouth, can go back and repair any that were lost when we ate that meal. The problem today is everybody's sipping. Nobody ever stops. Cups of coffee go on for hours. People sip sparkling water, which is actually acidic, or sodas, or energy drinks, or sports drinks. You name it. And then people nibble. And whether it's a protein bar, a date, some raisins, it doesn't matter. The sugar is feeding acid-producing bacteria. The drinks themselves can be acidic. If you don't stop completely eating and drinking, you will never stop this demineralization process. It will continue and continue and continue all day long. So it's really important to eat and drink at meal times. If you want to stimulate a flow of even more mineralized, even more healing saliva, xylitol, the product that I formulated, Zellies, are designed specifically so that when you eat a few mints, it will stimulate a flow of highly mineralized saliva that will go into the outside of your teeth and strengthen the enamel. And the more you do this, the more you strengthen your enamel and reduce the period of time when they're demineralized, the stronger your teeth, the smoother the surface, and the more light will bounce off the surface of your tooth, and your teeth will appear brighter and whiter. For some people, this can occur in a matter of a week. It doesn't matter what age you are. That's the fun thing. We are talking now, of course, about adult teeth. I need to make sure you realize that. I mean, the process of strengthening teeth works for children, but you won't get the same change in color because baby teeth don't have the same structure. But adult teeth, even young adult teeth, like a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old that may be erupting their new front teeth and they look kind of yellowish, use these strategies. End the meal with a little bit of xylitol and then stop eating and drinking. Try and go an hour, if possible, more. No sips of water. Every time you wash your mouth with water, you are diluting, you are thinning this healing liquid, your saliva. And I know everybody wants to drink lots and lots of water. I am with you. But do that in a session if you don't want to drink it at a mealtime, because some people believe that's bad. Find another occasion and drink more at that occasion and then stop. The damage is the continuous sipping. I did a Zoom call with somebody once. I think I counted 30 sips within a half-hour Zoom call. That's ridiculous for your teeth. You are literally washing the minerals away. So be aware. You can drink. I'm not saying don't drink. I've been misquoted. Drink all you want, but try to limit the sessions of the eating and drinking that you have. I'm not here to limit your diet or what you eat or drink. I'm here to say give your teeth time with undiluted saliva. And by stimulating the saliva with xylitol, you create stimulated saliva. Saliva that's pulled into the mouth is always at a slightly higher pH. It has a different pH, and you can measure this yourself. You can buy some pH testing strips and do a little experiment. Test your pH in the morning when you get out of bed. See what it is. Often a measurement for women around 6, 5.5, 6, 6.5, very disappointing often. Men are usually have more alkaline saliva. It's just the way it is, ladies. It happens. And when you're pregnant, you will have acidic saliva for 9 months. That's just the way it is. Again, hormonal influences, stress. There are a whole bunch of factors beyond diet and sickness, drugs, everything changes the pH of your mouth. And then try having mint and like 2 minutes later, test the pH of your mouth and you'll see it has raised usually at least 2 units for anyone who has acidic saliva. For somebody who already has alkaline saliva, it may not change that much. It's just the way it is. You're lucky people with very mineralizing saliva naturally. But for somebody who's pregnant, they're going to need that additional help. And then the final way that you can speed the whitening of your teeth or the strengthening of your teeth is to actually be aware of nurturing the good bacteria in your mouth. And that happens by eating xylitol. And that's one of the reasons I think last thing at night, a little xylitol meant as you go to sleep at night can be really helpful to create a coating of healthy bacteria that smooth out the surface of your teeth. They make food stick less, but they also make your teeth look shinier, look brighter, you can almost feel it when you start eating xylitol. Your teeth feel smooth and shiny. And then the final thing then that you can do is use the products, the mouth rinses that I recommend in my complete mouth care system, because they will speed all of these processes. They will speed the natural building of healthy biofilm by simply modulating or pushing the biofilm in a direction of health. They don't damage the bacteria in your mouth. All the misinformation about mouthwashes, ignore it and use yourself as an experiment. When you get your mouth healthy, your nitric oxide levels will go up, your teeth will be brighter, your mouth will be healthier. And that's the way nature really wanted it. When you smile with a shiny white smile, people on the other side know you're a healthy person to interact with. And that is really why I believe we are drawn to wanting healthy, white, shiny teeth. I embrace that. Now, one last thing, if you are having a photo session, if you're having a wedding, you really want those uber white teeth. They cannot be quickly achieved. Whitening takes time. I would say you need to give yourself between 6 months and 2 years to really see what color your teeth can become. Children's teeth will usually whiten quicker. If you're a 7-year-old with a newly erupted tooth, by the time you're 8, that tooth will probably look spectacular. For the rest of us, give time. But if you haven't got time, what do? I would recommend you go to a trustworthy dentist. Do what you can, strengthen your teeth as much as you can, realize that you are going to cause some damage, and do it one time. Do it for that occasion so that you feel you have that experience. It won't ruin everything. The real damage is done by people who continuously, every few months, are whitening their teeth, or worse than that. And younger children, be really, really vigilant parents, because when teeth are younger, the inside of that tooth is nearer the surface. And there were studies done where they whitened children's teeth, teenagers, and then they took out teeth for orthodontics, for straightening the teeth. That wasn't planned orthodontic extractions. They did the tooth at the time of the whitening. They did the next tooth a month later, and then they did 2 months later and 3 months later. And they looked at these teeth under section. And there were changes in the cells on the inside of these teeth after a substantial amount of time after the whitening. So we don't know. Nobody's looking at the real damage. I don't know if that study was accurate. I just know I read about that study and I believe it's possible. Most people can feel sensitivity and pain. Those are signals. That is not good. So I'm hoping studies will be done to look at the effects on stem cells that are inside our teeth. See, we now have discovered that our teeth are reservoirs for stem cells in our body. Do you want to potentially damage those stem cells and make them travel around your body in some way that maybe is unhealthy? I'm not sure about any of those things, but I think it should be studied, because so many people are ignorant about the damage done by whitening teeth, and they're trusting people who have not looked deeper than the superficial. And then finally, I want to tell you a story, a very encouraging story for anyone who's older, who thinks their teeth are just that color because they drink tea or coffee or whatever. My mother, who was in her 80s, and my father had passed away a long time before, she met a young man of 70. And she, of course, put this engineer gentleman on my complete mouth care system. And for 10 years, He used my complete mouth care system very efficiently, as all engineers probably do, doing everything right. And then he went back to his dentist. He had missed dental appointments for almost 10 years because he had moved to live by my mother. And when he went to the dentist was fascinated and said, "George, what happened? What have you been using to whiten your teeth? They look amazing." He had not whitened his teeth. The dentist knew there had been a change because the last thing he had done 10 years previously was create a crown at the back of George's mouth that was matched to the then yellow color of his teeth. He was 70, and between 70 and 80 years old, he had miraculously transformed his teeth, not only to be healthier, stronger, but whiter. So anyone can change the color of their teeth. It doesn't matter what age you are. This is a dynamic process, and you can begin today. We have 3 really simple and affordable ways for you to protect yourself from cavities, stop them forming, and even help you to reverse them if you already have a cavity or you've been told you have a cavity in a tooth. So, as a dentist, I always gave my patients the opportunity to reverse a cavity. You may have never heard of people reversing cavities. I felt it was really important because if we could reverse a cavity and avoid a filling, that is a huge advantage for anybody and everybody. The problem with a filling is it doesn't address why you got the cavity. A filling doesn't solve the problem. It is like a band-aid on the top of a wound. We want to know why that cavity happened. What I teach people is that cavities are a long process. They are a process of the teeth gradually softening, disintegrating, and turning into this hole or cavity. Now, during that process of softening, we can come in there and actually harden it up, get rid of the infection, and rebuild the tooth with natural minerals that are in your mouth. So, how do we do it? What are these 3 easy, simple things that anybody can do if you've been told you have a cavity or if you simply want to prevent them from forming? Well, the first thing is to realize that every time you eat, every time you drink, anything, you are thinning the liquid in your mouth, you're thinning its consistency, and you are basically putting your teeth at risk either for a loss of minerals or for minerals to actually exit your teeth in a huge, quick burst. And that occurs when we eat meals, because if the meals have any kind of acidity, they are potentially going to pull almost like a vacuum on the outside of your tooth. If you're eating, say, a grapefruit or a lemon, or you're drinking a lemonade, this is going to pull minerals, literally pull them out of your teeth. It's a process of chelation with your saliva. We don't need to go into all the chemistry, but it pulls minerals out of your teeth. If you eat anything sugary, it feeds bacteria that, in essence, do the same kind of thing. They create acids, and these acids immediately, you haven't got time to go brush your teeth or clean your teeth or clean them before you eat. This is going to occur. So instead of getting worked up about what you're eating or what you're drinking, eat and drink and be happy. And at the end of that eating and drinking period, which ideally you want to keep to about 30 to 60 minutes maximum, and what you need to do now is stop eating and drinking and therefore stop injuring your teeth. And ideally, if you can rinse your mouth with some water, and I say rinse, just swish it a little bit about around your teeth before you drink it down. You're not necessarily spitting it out. You're just washing your mouth with either water or some other safe liquid. And a safe liquid would be something like whole milk, which is very good for teeth. It's full of the calcium and the phosphates that teeth like. So a glass of whole milk or a little bit of whole milk at the end of a meal would be really helpful. Similarly, an unsweetened yogurt, even though it's somewhat acidic, has the calcium and the phosphates. and it would be protective of your teeth. So I think, depending on the foods that you like the best, the 5 ideal foods to end your meal, I would say cheese is always an easy one. Salty nuts are usually around in most people's snack break rooms. You can get some salty nuts. And then obviously, water is a good way to wash your teeth clean. Milk would be another one. If you have the opportunity to get whole milk, you could end your meal with some milk. And ideally, of course, the one that I love the most is xylitol, because xylitol does even more. Xylitol helps to feed the good bacteria in your mouth while you are not eating and drinking after the meal. It's actually promoting better oral health after your meal than you had before it. The second thing that xylitol does is it stimulates a special flow of saliva into your mouth. It doesn't just wait for the saliva to come into your mouth, which it will do at the end of a meal, but xylitol has a hygroscopic pull. It means it literally reels the saliva into your mouth. And that saliva, because it's pulled there by the xylitol, is going to be more densely packed with minerals than if it had just flowed into your mouth. Anyone who is struggling to repair a cavity, anyone who's been told they have a cavity and they really, really want to get rid of this, if you give yourself a period of about 3 to 6 months and make sure you're doing all your eating and drinking in these little packaged, contained periods of time, followed by a tooth protective food or drink of some kind, and then have some xylitol. Xylitol in any form will work. You can get xylitol in a granular form in most countries. And you just take 1/5 of a teaspoon or tiny little bit and put it in the center of your mouth. Finland, I know you guys have had xylitol candies and chewing gum for decades. Tooth friendly xylitol mints and gum and chewable candies. And most of those will work really well. You just don't want to chew the gum for too long. The xylitol comes out of the gum within 2 to 5 minutes. And it's best to get the xylitol in your mouth and then get rid of the gum. Don't keep chewing and chewing. And this sort of feeds into what we just talked about, because the problem with continuously chewing the gum is you've now got rid of the xylitol. It's come out of the gum. It's done its work. It's brought the good mineral dense saliva into your mouth. If you carry on chewing and chewing, you are going to start generating a different kind of saliva. It comes from the mastication, the squeezing of the gland that's in your cheeks. So, the importance of mouth resting is to give your teeth time to mineralize. Mineralize means that minerals that are in your liquids, in the saliva, in the spit in your mouth, simply need time to percolate, to go into the surface of your teeth. You don't need special toothpaste. You don't need anything except to give your teeth the time. If you have just had xylitol right before this period of time, you will also be feeding the good bacteria in your mouth. And because xylitol stimulates a flow of special saliva, and that stimulated saliva not only has more minerals in it, but it also has special immune cells that help heal your gum tissue. So, this is for people as well if you're struggling with gum health, but particularly for people who are trying to repair or prevent cavities. Simple thing: eat, drink, and then enjoy. An hour is good. If you go longer, you get even more benefits. You get the benefits of producing nitric oxide in your mouth. And that will help your heart health, your breathing, and your brain health. So I would recommend 1 to 2 hours of mouth resting so that not only do you benefit your teeth and start preventing cavities, but you also help your cognition, how you think. You'll feel brighter, you'll breathe better, and your heart will be having a better time pumping. It'll be more relaxed. It'll be better for your blood pressure. So all of these wonderful things occur from mouth resting. So, along with xylitol that helps stimulate good salivary flow, there are the other things you can do that will make your saliva more mineralizing. One of them is to make sure that you have the best possible gut health. That would be taking maybe a probiotic. Certainly, eating a fiber rich diet would be my recommendation so that you're going to absorb as many minerals as possible from the foods you eat. This is another reason I think diet is so important. I recommend a lot of green leafy vegetables and salads because we know they contain nitrates, which get absorbed through your healthy gut into your body. It circulates around your body, and an hour after eating, this is what's so incredible, your salivary glands transfer these nutrients into the gland that then transports it into your mouth. There is a direct exchange between the blood vessels that have carried these nutrients from your gut round your body, and they get picked up by your salivary glands and then condensed, changed a little bit, concentrated, and then pumped into your mouth. So, an hour after you've had a nice, healthy meal, you will find that your mouth has these nutrients in your mouth, ready to do the work we want it then to do. So, healthy diet is important for salivary health, for the health of your teeth. Alongside that, we can make that exchange work even better if you exercise. Exercise, as you can imagine, is going to circulate things around your body in a healthy circulation. And exercises like yoga, to me, are very interesting because they also often are with your head down, lower than your heart, so that potentially you are percolating into your salivary glands, helping them get concentrated in contact with your circulation. In other words, you're trying to put your body's circulation in good shape, in good contact with your salivary glands. Nature has its own rhythm, and this rhythm works it's called a circadian rhythm. It has a 24-hour cycle. You've probably heard of it because of going to sleep at night. There's melatonin that's produced as the sun sets, and when the sun rises, we wake up, and there are lots of things in our body that work on this clock that is a 24-hour clock. And interestingly, our salivary health or salivary content works on a same 24-hour rhythm. The thing that is most important to know, I think, is that it is worst at night. In the middle of the night, your salivary content is almost nil. It's not helping you. It's gone to sleep, which leaves your teeth in a nightmare situation if you didn't clean them or prepare them prior to going to sleep. During these nighttime hours when it's dark outside, your teeth are struggling to survive. And that's why I believe it's non negotiable to care for your teeth in the best possible way right before you go to bed. And I say care for your teeth because it's not just brushing them. If you massage your gums, that's one thing that could get some circulation in them. But the toothpaste that you choose to use is critical. If you choose a toothpaste because you think it's going to whiten your teeth, it may be sucking the minerals out of them. And you don't want to do that right before you go to bed at night. I would not advise a toothpaste with whitening. I would not advise a toothpaste with baking soda because that's going to strip away the mouth's protection. So the Miswax stick is pretty available in parts of the Middle East, in Africa, in countries where you may not be able to get any of the products that I recommend that are part of my complete mouth care system. If you live in England, there are alternatives. In Australia and New Zealand, there is a company that will distribute the products that I recommend. If you go to the video that's attached here, it'll send you to, if you don't know about my complete mouth care system, exactly what to use and how to use the products. But they will protect your teeth at night when your mouth, your saliva, cannot. It doesn't have the ability to help you. Conversely, it's worth knowing that the best time for your saliva to help you is immediately after lunch. So make sure, if you possibly can, if you're fighting cavities, your ideal scenario is have a very healthy lunch with salads and greens and all these good things, beets and celery, end with a tooth protective food, have some xylitol, and then don't eat or drink for 2 hours in the afternoon. Those afternoon salivary hours are priceless. Don't waste them sipping coffee, sipping soda, sipping anything. And if you're a worker who is awake at night and sleeps in the day, you can use the same principles. Think about going to work. Maybe you clean your teeth with my complete mouth care system right before you go to work. Have your meal, clean your teeth, and then don't eat or drink for as long as you can during the nighttime, early nighttime hours. Then when you take a break, eat, drink, end with a tooth protective food, some xylitol, and then have your 2 hour break. And then when you get home prior to going to sleep during the daytime, you can use the complete mouth care system right before you go to sleep. And then while you're sleeping, you will have the benefits of this daytime perfect salivary flow. So it is possible to protect your teeth. You just have to think it out, knowing that midday is the best and that midnight is probably the worst saliva for your teeth. So, if you are now asking the question, what about children? I do have a video that is completely about how to look after children's teeth, and we'll link to it here. But quickly, it's very similar. Just realize that cavities in baby teeth do not reverse. But children start getting adult teeth at the age of 5. So preventing or reversing or using the same strategies should begin even in preschool children. And sadly, America is so far behind in this. They've usually thought baby teeth don't matter. In Europe and countries that are the first, they have the best oral health, they begin immediately, baby teeth come into the mouth using xylitol. Xylitol is the key there. They hand out xylitol in preschool during the ages of 3 and 4. They understand about mouth resting. They chew the gum, throw it in the trash, and then don't eat or drink for hours afterwards. So they have shown in the last 70 years in some of these countries that you can prevent cavities in children with these very simple, inexpensive techniques. Now, cleaning your child's teeth at night is important. They have the same problem with salivary flow at night. They don't have any benefit from their saliva. The problem is that cleaning children's teeth is a challenge. If you can simply get them to wash their mouth, that is ideal. If you can get them to use, as they're old enough to rinse and spit, I would suggest a dilute 0.05 sodium fluoride mouthwash for a child of 5, 6, 7 years old. Toothbrushing is never going to be able to clean everywhere in a child's mouth. It's more of a game to play to make a happy attitude and maybe clean some of the plaque off their teeth. But rinsing when they're old enough to know how to rinse and spit, very important. I would start doing that as soon as you feel safe. They're not going to be drinking it. Then, after they've done that brushing for fun, the rinsing the best they can, finally, I would give a child of any age old enough to chew and eat a little bit of xylitol, either as crystals if they're real tiny, or as a mint when they start to be able to deal with a little mint. A couple of those every night as you're having a story before bed. As they go to sleep, they're going to be mouth resting, no more water, no more drinking, no more eating, no more snacking, no candies, nothing. Because then, while they're sleeping, the xylitol will be feeding the good bacteria in their mouth, setting them up for a lifetime of mouth health. So you're an adult trying to prevent cavities. I think in this video, it's made clear that it's about the mouth resting after meals and this period of time, along with the nighttime care, the products that you use to clean your teeth, how important that is, and the use of xylitol. Now, with children, as I mentioned, you can do the xylitol, you can do the night care. But what about this mouth resting? You have a toddler. They don't want a mouth rest. They want to eat continuously. Believe me, I'm a mother of 5. I have 8.5 grandchildren. So I know the difficulties. And I would suggest that you learn again these foods, or at least understand why we choose these tooth protective foods that have no sugar, they're not carbohydrates, and they're usually either salty or fatty. And you can try and find the foods that your toddler or child would appreciate. And in those intervals between their so called meals, maybe you can provide, if your child drinks milk, that's fine. Put some, maybe you cut the milk in with some water, but it's a milky water in a bottle if they're going to be sipping in a sippy cup or have a bottle. You could also consider putting some xylitol into water. You have to actually warm the water up to dissolve the xylitol, but then you can chill it if your child likes cold water, and there'll be a little bit of xylitol in this liquid, and that will taste better than plain water. Often children don't want to drink just plain water. You could also use avocado, carrots, apples, fibrous foods like that. I know children don't usually like celery, but some do. And then there are nuts, if your child's old enough and likes salty peanuts or little pieces of meat. There's nothing wrong with eating some chicken or some meat, or ideally, again, little pieces of cheese. So we have quite a selection in the fruits and vegetables, the nuts, the grains, and even dairy that is safe for teeth in between these times of major food eating. Now, adults, I beg you to try to not keep interrupting your mouth resting. Leave your mouth alone. And you will find, even people with dry mouth will find their mouth starts to feel so much better. Let's just try to unwind a habit you may have been in most of your life. Let these intervals be between meals where you don't eat and drink so much. Have you ever had a dentist talk you out of a cleaning? Well, I'm going to try. And I'm Dr. Ellie, and I am here to help you have the healthiest mouth ever and avoid unnecessary dental treatments. And in my opinion, you need to be thinking about dental cleanings in a more practical way than you probably do. Everybody gets these cards and calls from the dentist or texts these days. Time for your recall, 6-month recall. And you go to the dentist and you have a cleaning because that's what they do. But do you need a cleaning? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you think it stops you from getting cavities? How does that happen? What's the science? And particularly when it comes to little children, I get really mad because some mothers pay for every child to have a cleaning. And do they need it? And is it beneficial? So I want to unpack all of that. And the first way that we need to look at this is to determine, why are you having a cleaning? Do you need it? Well, if your dentist or your hygienist tells you, yes, you do need a cleaning because you have that crusty stuff that they call tartar, calculus, plaque in places around your mouth, then you do need to do something about that. The hygienist could clean it off your teeth, but believe me, it's going to come back, and you don't have to have that. Plaque is a bacterial infection. Yeah, it's not a thing. It's not a substance. It looks like a substance in your mouth. But let's go down a microscope and start at the beginning. In your saliva, in the liquid in your mouth, are lots and lots of kinds of bacteria. I think they're now saying about 900 different kinds of bacteria, and most of them are really good and helpful. One particular kind of this bacteria is called Streptococcus mutans. What they do is travel around a mouth, say a mouth of an infant, before they have teeth. They can't land anywhere because the only place strep mutans can multiply is on the hard surface of a tooth, a non-shedding hard surface. They love teeth. And strep mutans consumes sugars. So if you have sugars in your saliva from the foods and drinks you eat or drink, strep mutans will take those sugars and use it as an energy source to multiply and also to make sticky pads that glue strep mutans to your tooth and to other strep mutans. So they start lining up and maturing. And then when they mature, they're kind of little columnar, like little pencils under a microscope, lined up, stuck to each other. And then they form these blankets. And then the next blanket comes on top. And so they layer not only sideways, but thicken. And when they grow so thick, they can actually be seen. That is when you have plaque on your teeth. So if you scrape with your fingernail and get a soft, white, fluffy stuff off your teeth, and you were to look at that under a microscope, it is a seething mass of these bacteria that are all glued together with the sticky glucans from sugars that you have eaten and been eating or drinking. Now, yes, you can brush that stuff off your teeth, you can floss it off your teeth, but it's not going to go away because in your saliva, you have more strep mutans just waiting to land on your tooth. And it takes about 12 hours for a strep mutans to land on your tooth, call its buddies to come and join it, and start developing into this infected mass. So you have to brush your teeth every 12 hours, otherwise you are going to develop plaque. But that is an ongoing process that never gets better. The suggestion I would make is that you start using the strategies I recommend. You see, we knew in 1970 that if you consume a tiny amount of xylitol, this sugar from birch trees, at the end of meals, and then you don't eat or drink, over a period of a month, the xylitol will feed all the bacteria in your mouth, feed all the good ones. It will also feed those nasty strep mutans that are on your teeth. The thing is, strep mutans cannot use xylitol. It's the wrong shape. It's a 5-carbon sugar, and it just like the wrong cog in a wheel. It cannot use it for energy. And without energy, strep mutans can no longer make their sticky pads to stick to your teeth. So they become slippery. So you can wash them away when you clean your teeth at night with a mouthwash. The ones I recommend are particularly good for this. And your strep mutans, when plaque forming bacteria, just disappear. And the good bacteria, when the teeth are clean and there are plenty of good bacteria, they will take the place of the ones that you just eliminated. And in a month, your teeth will be cleaned of strep mutans. No more will be landing on your teeth. If you have a good toothbrush, the kind I recommend, don't use soft, silly battery ones. Use the good manual brushes I recommend. And with vigor, brush your teeth. You will stop these so-called kind of dying or non-useful plaque bacteria that just stick on your teeth. You will get them off your teeth, and your teeth will look clean. They will feel shiny and smooth. And after 6 months, you won't have any more strep mutans, even in your saliva. You will have got rid of the entire life cycle of strep mutans if you are consistent and regular in your use of xylitol. So no longer do you have the possibility of plaque. And you can actually test this. I test my own saliva periodically. I have 0 plaque-forming bacteria in my saliva. How cool is that? Well, if I go to a dentist and ask them, do I need a cleaning? I have no plaque. I have no calculus because calculus is calcified plaque deposits. You have to have plaque first for it to calcify. So I have no calcified plaque. And so there's nothing to clean off. And you too can get to that place. Is there an advantage? Well, the reason I don't have a cleaning, and I haven't now had one for 40 years, and all the way along I have been checked, I have gone to the dentist for evaluations. Why don't I want to clean my teeth? Because when you have healthy bacteria in your mouth and no plaque, the healthy bacteria form a very thin coating over your teeth and over your gums that is protective. It is like a bulletproof shield over your teeth. It stops your enamel wearing away. If you've been told you've worn your enamel away with how you brush your teeth, maybe you didn't have healthy protective biofilm. And that biofilm also, it protects you from the damage done by temperatures, the temperature fluctuation from hot coffee to a cold drink of water. The protection is in this biofilm layer made up of healthy bacteria that you cannot see. If you see it, it's infected. If it's healthy, it's just a clear film that you can feel on your teeth. Just as a slick coating, almost like a waxy coating over your teeth. And that is protective. And I don't want that cleaned off just because somebody thinks they want to. Cleanings were invented or created, or somebody came up with the idea of cleanings when they thought plaque was kind of like stale food, with particles of things. It was a substance. It's not. It's an infection. And you don't get rid of an infection with a length of string or a brush. You have to get rid of that infection in a better way. You have to allow your body to really kind of get rid of the damage that's being done. So, have I talked you out of having cleanings? That could be tricky when you go for your next dental visit. You could ask why you need a cleaning. And then the next time, maybe you go and ask for, they could do a test to see if you have plaque bacteria. And if you need a book to take with you, I have a book called Mouth Care Comes Clean that might be of interest to your dentist or your hygienist because it explains this. And if they want to go online, there are studies done. Most of these studies were done in countries where there's socialized medicine. In England, they have done studies because they're looking at, do you really need to go to the dentist every 6 months? And even the American Dental Association admit that risk factors, how much at risk of plaque are you? Because one of the great things is if you don't have plaque, you're not at risk for cavities. And if you don't have plaque, you won't form gingivitis, which is the first stage of gum disease. You basically are going to keep your teeth and mouth healthy by eliminating plaque. A whole new concept. And it's not done mechanically, it's done with xylitol. So if this piques the interest of your dentist, suggest that they follow this channel as well. If you want to learn more, I have a lot of information on my website at drellie.com, and I have a video boot camp where we go through things like your habits, how you can eat and drink anything you want, but you have to do it in a particular way. So do learn more, do enjoy, and good luck at the dentist. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with me today. My hope is that you feel empowered. I have hundreds of videos on this channel for you to learn more about oral health, and I've just launched a new educational program on my website that I'm really excited about. You can find it at drellie.com. Thank you.